Hello and welcome to the Endless Celts Podcast. Today is Monday, the 22nd of April. 3 days until the big day, Franny. We don't know what that is, but we'll go with it nonetheless. How are we all, Franny? Jed, welcome to the show.
Aye, all good, mate. A good weekend. We're out for dinner on the Saturday for my mum and dad's 50th wedding anniversary. Then obviously they put into a cup final. So all in all, a good weekend. Oh, and it was somebody else's 40th birthday, so it was a Mrs. 40th birthday. So I better
good. Good celebration there as well.
Aye.
So, Franny, were you at the game yourself, or did you just catch it on TV?
No, just caught it on the TV. Caught it on the TV because we were out for dinner. I had to actually watch some of it back, just due to the time we were actually out for dinner and stuff. So
I'm glad you've seen it, because as always on a Monday night here, I work on a Saturday, so I missed it. And here I am. But we do have Jed, who I believe, Jed, you were at the game on Saturday.
Yes, I mean I'm not a lover of Hampden, and I'll touch on that later. I was in the Rangers end. I swapped my ticket so my daughter could be in the Celtic end, and it was, look, to be honest, I thought we were going to cruise it, and that was a kick up the backside. No one expected that. We'll touch on that as well. But at the end of the day, we're in another cup final, and it is hard to believe it's 22 years since we played the old Rangers till we're going to be playing the new Rangers on a very significant day. Cup final.
Scottish Cup final.
It's been that long since we... What?
2000.
And a Scottish Cup final,
We've not played Rangers in the Scottish Cup final since 2002.
2002.
How's that went over my head?
Do you know how I remember it really well? It was my youngest daughter. It was her christening the next day.
Right.
Can always remember that.
I'll be brutally honest, guys. That's the first I've heard that stat.
Yeah.
That's mental, considering how often we do play them at Hampden. That's sensational. Well, that makes it even more fitting if we go through the topics that we will call the 25th of May our Day of Destiny as such. So without any further ado, here's what's on tonight's show. There we have it. That's what's coming up on tonight's show. Not many great topics, because I think everything's going to revolve really around the weekend itself. Not much has happened in the world of Celtic other than the natural progression of the games as we tick them by. And I know the guys, as we go through the week, we'll touch on the weekend's game and get us all G'd up for that. But just to break us into it, I'll start with Franny yourself, because you're at the top of the screen. Talk us about Saturday, overall the game. How did you feel? Were you comfortable when we went behind, did you feel like we were going to get the win eventually?
I was comfortable in the sense that it happened in the first minute, so you still got plenty of time to get back in the game and things like that, Anthony. And obviously we did get a fairly quick response. I think couldn't equalise round about the 20th minute mark. And for there, you think you're just got to sort of take charge of the game, if you like. And it never really materialised like that. I suppose on one hand you can maybe credit Aberdeen there. It's a one-off game for them. I know folk will look at the league position as ninth, but they've obviously just got the new sort of interim manager in the moment, and I think he's had a couple of good results. And along with that, it's like you say, it's a cup game. They're massive underdogs, so it gives them a wee bit of freedom to have a go. And in fairness to them, they did have a go, and as back to for the first minute, they scored a really good goal for their point of view. It's no many times you see Carter Vickers get outdone like that, I feel like. And I just think a wee bit of that set the tone for me for the day for the defence. I think Scales had one of his poorest games of the season, which I'm not going to say Carter Vickers was poor. I do think he never had a great game, but maybe some of that was down to his central defensive partner. And in fairness, Miovski had a decent enough game. But once you go 2-1 up, you think, well, we might just sort of get it over the line here. But you kind of get sucker punched a wee bit late on. As that come down to game management, then you got into the extra time. I think we controlled large chunks of the game without really creating tons of clear-cut chances, if you like. But I thought in the main, we controlled the game massively. Then you get the goal in extra time, and then they then sucker punch you again. I can't remember, was it for Palmer? He's just clear your lines, mate. Didn't try and you didn't need to be clever with that pass, just get it up in the corner and stuff. So I think there was a bit of poor game management for some folk, but all in all, from a neutral point of view, I suppose you could argue what a game of football. Aberdeen showed Hearts how to turn up in a cup semi-final and how to actually make it an event. But as Jed touched on earlier, it wasn't. It maybe will give us a wee kick up the bum. Yes, there will be some tricky moments in the remaining games of this campaign, but hopefully that just gives you a wee kick up the backside to say, look, we will need to up it. But like we can have sort of off days. I thought we controlled the game in the main, Anthony. We just weren't really bang at it, I feel like.
So I said at the start that I missed the game. I did manage to see the first 45 minutes, not the full 50 of the first half. Literally was diving out the door as he put 5 minutes up on the board. And it was one of those games for me that once the first goal went in, which is a good goal by Miovski, maybe my reason why we should have signed him at some point. But I never felt worried. Like earlier in the season, if we went behind or were struggling to break the deadlock at some point, you would start to feel the anxiety and the kind of nerves were kicking. It was a first half at least, that I never felt that. I kind of still felt confident, even walking out the door at halftime thinking, we'll get the win, it'll be all right. I'm confident that I can miss the rest of this game knowing that we'll win the tie anyway. We made it probably more difficult for ourselves than I believe we probably should have. But then, as the radio was saying, and other people were probably looking upon it, other than Celtic fans, it was probably a decent game for Scottish football, like as an advertisement for a neutral. But as a Celtic fan, you want that to be a little bit more comfortable, and that seems to be the story of our season far too often. Even though I wasn't as worried or anxious this weekend as I was most. Before I move on to you, Jed, I want to get your feelings on it as well. Just quickly, as we touch on a kind of neutral game, didn't he actually bring up many great stats? A kind of fairly even game overall. 54 possession in our favour to their 46. 6 shots on target to their 4. Fouls committed 12 and 13 each. It wasn't really anything. There wasn't one real dominant team in it, and even then, there doesn't seem to be much in the stats that suggest we were banging each other's door and sort of thing. So, Jed, for yourself being at the game, how did it feel in the stadium? Did you pick up any anxiety or nerves, or were you a bit like myself, maybe, where the confidence is slowly building in yourself and in the team?
Well, before the game, I was thinking this is going to be 3-0. And as Franny touched on, when they scored early enough. I wasn't panicking because if you think back as well, when we beat them in the Invincibles year, Johnny Hayes scored early against us and we went on and beat them 2-1. So I had that in the back of my mind thinking this we could do it. I take credit to Aberdeen because they went for it. You know, they did try and go for it, and I was very impressed with Majorski, and especially in the first half. He was causing us problems, and probably Stephen will be loving it, the fact, because on that performance against us at the weekend, I think we should maybe take a punt on the guy for us. But as Franny said as well about Carter Vickers didn't have the greatest of games, but he also made a couple of good clearances. But for me, that's probably one of the worst games I've seen. Scales was caught out too many times for me. But at the game as well, and this something, and if the people want to comment on this, I really hate Hampden. You were saying about the atmosphere. The atmosphere was okay. The atmosphere was decent. It is a terrible place to go and view football. I felt really sorry for a guy 2 seats along from me, pensioner with a walking stick. He's having to stand up like everybody else is because people stand up to watch the game. The poor guy, he was struggling. So he was. But, you know, I was trying to say, and just have a wee seat for 5 minutes, but he didn't want to try and miss any of the game. And I would put it out to the viewers. I have been saying this for ages, and I was trying to, even going into the game, through to the game, why was that game even at Hampden in the first place? Why does it need to be Hampden? Why couldn't it not have been Murrayfield? Then it's a neutral venue altogether, neutral city. Murrayfield, we've been there a few times. We played Hearts in the League Cup semi-final, when Brendan Rodgers was there as well. It was fantastic, great viewing. And I do think Hampden has run its day. If I get a ticket for the final, I'm not going. I'm not going.
No, come on.
No, I'm giving my ticket to my daughter. It is a terrible stadium to get in and out of, to park, everything.
Screw parking. You're no parking anywhere near that stadium.
It's a joke of a, and even coming out after the game, there was loads of Aberdeen and Celtic fans mingling. I'm thinking, hope nothing kicks off. But luckily nothing kicked off. You know, because there was thousands of Aberdeen fans walking down with all of us. But it was fine. But all it needs is some arsehole on both sides to say something, and then it kicks off. It's just a stadium. You're too far away. I'm actually watching it and thinking, yeah, you can see here the running track round here for the Commonwealth Games. You're too far away from this. Too far away. So that's my for a bit.
I actually said some more after the Commonwealth Games. We were amongst friends and stuff. I personally don't like Hampden either. I like the nostalgic and history that it tries to hold within itself, but other than that, as you say, as a stadium, it's pretty run down. It's you're far too far away from the pitch side.
Yep.
It doesn't hold the atmosphere that it claims to have. Maybe it did back in the day from before I was going to the games there, but ever since I've been there since, was it the 94-95 season, when we were there for the year, it's never been a great stadium for me. But when we had the Commonwealth Games, I said almost the same thing as what you're trying to say as well, Jed. We should have left it as an athletic stadium and sold it. I mean, it was a couple of years after it that we actually had to buy it or release it or something like that. We should have left it as it was, as a legacy to the Commonwealth Games, to athletes and stuff. Leave it as it was, because we adapted it a little bit. It felt more useful in that sense. And I would have honestly done what the Spanish do, and I imagine the Italians probably do as well. Take the international games and things like semi-finals, take them around the country. There's no reason, as you say, that game couldn't have been held at Murrayfield. I mean, even if we toss, was it the SRU? Even if we toss them some money to co-share or co-use Murrayfield just for these occasions, and that goes towards maintenance of the pitch and everything, so that we're not trampling along and trashing the pitch too much. But there's no reason why Scotland are going to play let's say Bulgaria for a team, why that game can't be played at Pittodrie and have the Tartan Army go up there, take the game on the road sort of thing. If we're going to play a friendly against, or even a small team like the Faroe Islands, that can get played at not Dens Park, of course, but Tannadice, because you can't play football on Dens Park right now. But there's no reason, and it even includes Celtic and Ibrox into it when it's the bigger games if Murrayfield can't be used. That's absolutely fine. There's no reason that can't be done. And it just takes the game around the country a little bit, saves the fans having to move so much. And yeah, it would be so much better. Entertainment-wise, it's not a great place to go and play football. But entertainment-wise...
entertainment, you're seeing the game, but I tell you one thing, when at the penalties, when it went to penalties, I thought we're beat here. And I'll be honest, everybody round about me was saying the same. We were really, because there was one bit I was sitting down, standing, because I didn't think, do I watch it or not? But luckily, we got through in the end. And credit to Aberdeen. Like you said, Franny, they showed Hearts how to go out and try and win a semi-final. So they did.
I think most of us could probably have guessed how that game on Sunday was going to pan out, to be honest.
As I said yesterday in the chat, Hearts.
Aye.
Yeah. So back to the game itself on Saturday. Like I say, I'm not going to try and pretend to the audience that I've watched all. Obviously, we've all seen the goals and the wee highlight clips there. So apologies if I get some of this backwards and all the rest of it. But we've touched on guys like Scales. He's getting caught out a bit too often. I reckon he's to blame for at least 2 of those goals. And it sounds harsh, but when you're getting beat for pace, or the ball's coming over the top or crosses and he's jumping early, or he's losing his man as a cross is coming in, so we see, I think that's starting to show, I don't want to say his shortcomings and weaknesses, because he's definitely stepped up to the game this season, but it's showing you where we're lacking in real quality going forward, I think. So the goals itself, you're looking at Miovski's goal, well worked from himself to take it. Our 3 goals low. Let me just, who was it? Forrest got the second, O'Reilly got the third.
Kuhn got the first.
Who got the first one?
Kuhn got the first one.
Kuhn. That was reminiscent of almost of a kind of Ange style goal. Great pressing from Kyogo. At one point, you thought he was going to give away a foul somehow, but great pressing from Kyogo. And you see, is it Hattati just behind him on the left and Kuhn on the right? All 3 of them realising the press is on and the counter's on, and they just go forward in unison. And obviously, Kyogo going to attempt to take the shot. It's a weak shot, probably at best. It's deflected nicely, almost as if he's meant it to lay it off to Kuhn, and Kuhn slotted it in for an open goal, easy enough goal sort of thing, and well taken from the pair of them to make the run. At that point, I felt maybe we would go on a wee bit more, kind of find that rhythm. But again, as we said all season, it's a bit of a stop-start thing. You one half you're good, one half you're bad sort of thing. By that point, I'm obviously out the game. I'm away to my work, so I'll let Franny at this point, if you've seen the second half more than I have, how did it feel with James Forrest coming on and himself getting that goal?
I'll be honest, I think James Forrest could have came on after about 10 minutes, because me, Stephen and Ross have tried to defend. I'm not going to speak for they two, obviously, but we've tried to defend Yang and say, I will still say I believe there is a player in there, but by God, that was one terrible performance he had on Sunday. I honestly don't care if I don't see him again this season. I really, they say James Forrest could have came on for me at any moment of that game. I think Yang has got, for me, Yang just seems to come across as either, you just, not trying to sound clip, but I think you feel you know what type of performance you've got to get on from early on. It doesn't seem to have moments in games he'll either be bang on it or he's horrendous. He just seems to give the ball away, or just runs into folk. It's just concentration just doesn't seem there. So Forrest came on and he clearly showed his experience in these fixtures. He's got a good history at Hampden, in fairness to the guy. He seems to always pop up with some important goals and things. And he had like I think just a couple minutes before it had a similar one where he cut inside, the shot was blocked, and it just opened up a game for him. Probably isn't his cleanest strike, but it goes through. It probably keeper's seen a wee bit blindsided. It does go through a few bodies, has a couple of bounces, so it's just keepers probably just can't react just in time, and it's far enough in the corner. And I say James Forrest comes up with a moment again in Hampden, and from there you're thinking, I wouldn't say we're huffed and puffed, but it's getting that second goal maybe didn't come as quick as we thought, but we've got it now. We'll see out the game, but obviously there was some poor defending. Like Alistair Johnson he's got to get out and shut that cross down quicker, I think. Scales, it's a great cross for both goals. Scales maybe gets caught underneath it. Could you argue Taylor maybe should be covering in? I'm not so sure. I don't know. I think you try and leave that to your centre half to try and get it. But if you want to cut some of the players some slack for the first sort of equaliser, the second one, why you let the guy pretty much do the exact same thing again? That's just madness.
Franny, can I ask, was it Hoyley to put the ball in for both the second and third goals?
Aye.
And he put it in with his left foot. He put his one in
left foot and right foot, and the third one was right.
I'm not blaming Johnson, actually. I just think it was two absolute quality balls.
Both crosses are on the money, Jed. I'm taking that away for the boy. I just think the second time maybe get out quicker.
Honestly, when the second goal went in, the cross came in, and I'm saying, what a cross. And I'm thinking, clear it, because you just knew it was coming into the danger area. And the guy buried it. But in saying that, that game should have been finished by the 80th minute. With chances to finish the game. And as you said, Franny, when Forrest came on, he almost scored the goal a couple of minutes before it with the same running in. And when the goalie did score, you could see the keeper was a wee bit blinded by the defenders, and he's bent it round. So it was a great finish from him, and I think he's probably he could even start the game this weekend over Young.
I would definitely start him before Young, but
I don't think you'll get 90 minutes out of him. That's the only thing.
I'm just watching on the side, just watching the highlights again. I'm just about to get to the Aberdeen second goal, and I'm realising just 5 minutes before that goal, on the 84th minute, there's another cross again. I believe it's the same guy for Aberdeen. Great cross in, and it's the one where it fumbles with Joe Hart, and then the shot gets saved on the line by Carter Vickers, and Hart picks it up.
Yeah,
it's Alistair Johnson again. He's actually caught in between two attackers. And he doesn't know who to mark, and he actually lets the guy behind him go. He doesn't watch him. And technically, that's who he should be marking.
To try and defend Alistair Johnson a wee bit. Obviously, Brendan, it was an extra time. Brendan Rodgers brung James Forrest off, wasn't it? So that left Alistair Johnson a wee bit exposed for the second time round, because they were maybe doubling up on Alistair Johnson a wee bit. But,
there's the second goal now. It's a lovely ball all the way across.
He doesn't want to go. The second goal was his left foot cross. The third goal was a right foot cross.
I'd take that away for it. Two great crosses in, right on the money. Right on the money, the crosses.
I'm going to keep talking about them just now, because it is a subject that's I want to discuss later on in this episode of the podcast, because it's something that's kind of getting the murmurs online on social media and stuff, the kind of murmurs about Alistair Johnson. Is he to blame for too many goals? Not just against Aberdeen, but even people are talking about the Rangers game as well. A lot of focus was on Yang for that Matondo goal. But if you look at what Alistair Johnson's doing, who's actually meant to be the right back defending in the position that Yang is, he's way too far in the box, and he just leaves that space for Matondo to run into. Don't want to delve too deep just now, because it's a topic I really want to discuss after we talk about the game a bit more. But just focusing on that second goal with AJ there again, and maybe there's a bigger conversation about the psychology of our players overall. That cross that comes in, once he has to start defending it, the ball's actually moved into the penalty box. Is the psychology of Celtic players now to stand off whenever the play gets into the box through sheer fear that they don't know if they get too close what's going to happen? because penalties and fouls are just given for anything these days against Celtic, be it handballs, intentional, unintentional, shot pulls that are not meant, but reactions happen and shit. Is it a combination of quite a lot of different little things that are maybe just showing off frailties in certain positions? Again, Liam Scales, he's coming in for a lot of criticism just now as well. I want to see if at least 2 of the goals he could do a lot better as well. Is this a possibility?
Well, I see as well, because I'm not really seeing the highlights, I'm trying to go off memory being at the game. My recollection of it was, for both the second and third goal, Hoyley got the ball in pretty quick. He didn't even try and run. I could be wrong, but I thought he got the ball and he got the ball in pretty quick. He didn't even try and run towards Alistair Johnson. He just, on both occasions, got the ball in really quick. Maybe somebody can...
Just looking at the second one, as the balls came into on the left side, Alistair Johnson stepped back a little bit, kind of letting him choose what side he's going to run for. And it looks like the Aberdeen players realise he's got a bit of space, and he's kind of shifted from his right foot to his left foot, which has left Alistair Johnson probably a half a yard too far away and giving himself the space to get the cross in. But once the cross goes in is when Liam Scales jumps between two attackers, but he's nowhere near.
He's in no man's land.
He's no man. He's just jumping because he has to. He's no actually
reaction in it.
Which is, I really hate being harsh on Scales, because I'm going to have to say it every time. He has done so well this season stepping up, but it's shown maybe a bit too often that he's not big game ready for this kind of game, for Rangers games, for European games, and that's why I always think that we need to do better than Liam Scales. Yeah, it sounds harsh, but somebody needs to get pointed the blame to some degree.
But Anthony, even after the game, walking out, obviously all the people you're passing different people, and you can hear some conversations, and everybody you could hear was, what was Scales doing? So Scales was getting the blame for the goals. But I think as a team collective as well, it's not just down to him. Like you said earlier, Franny Palmer, that ball should have been away. He puts that ball away. There are no penalties getting taken. You know what I mean?
Very similar, different kind of ball, mind you, but very similar to Cal McGregor in the Derby game as well. Doesn't look up. Poor pass. He needs to be so much better than that. But it's just that not seeing the play, not thinking the next step ahead and realising what's going to happen.
I was surprised.
Is that a fitness thing, a mentality thing?
I thought he would have went with the same lineup as the week before. I was surprised McGregor got a run it started.
So moving on to...
He still didn't look 100% fit, does he?
No.
He looks a wee bit off.
No. McGregor, no, not all. Moving on to the third goal, though. And we've been slating Alistair Johnson, so we kind of need to praise him a little bit here now as well, don't we? The ball comes down the right-hand side. There's... How do you define the pass that goes towards Alistair Johnson, where it kind of comes out from the outside? Is it an underlapping kind of pass that he catches onto the end of it, and then he crosses it through to O'Reilly? It's a great cross in, low, and an absolute fantastic shot by O'Reilly. Makes it a good, well-worked team goal. We go 3-2 up. At that point, was 106 minutes into the injury time of extra time's first half. We all surely thought we were home and dry at that point, surely.
Yeah.
For me, I thought that was, like you say, James Forrest picks up out wide, and then Alistair Johnson makes a great run, great pick out for Forrest, and great pick out for Alistair Johnson. And Matt O'Reilly just
didn't panic.
Cool at Ibrox. Cool at Ibrox, cool at Hampden, just taking his touch, taking his time, picked his spot. And I was with you. You've kind of, I said earlier that Aberdeen kind of sucker punched us twice. I thought, well, you've sucker punched them right at the half time, the first half of extra time. And in fairness to Aberdeen players, they were dying on their feet at times. They were going down with cramp and things like that. And you just thought, well, we'll see out this game and stuff. We just need to. One thing Rogers teams are good at, they're good at keeping the ball, but I just seem to get a wee bit hectic.
For some reason,
to just get hectic. I mean, Aberdeen, you have got to kind of credit them, but just I don't think we at times we just didn't seem to pass it. It was sometimes a bit too safe and things like that. And just some folk were making uncharacteristic errors, I felt. And I said, I do think we controlled large parts of the game without really being decisive and sort of really making inroads and peppering our goal and stuff. But it was one of the days we weren't at our best what we have been in recent weeks. But
guys, do you think we underestimated them?
I would argue a wee
No.
bit. You could argue a wee bit, I think. But at the same time, I think Aberdeen, like I said earlier, it's a one-off game for them.
You have to remember, Aberdeen are not traditionally a relegation fodder kind of team. They are much better than that. There's a lot of good players still in that squad from last season as well. They're on a really poor season for whatever reason, and obviously the what's his face? I forgot the English boy's name. What's the man? Warnock. I was thinking of Hodgson. Warnock was an absolute baffling appointment. It almost feels like it was a shits and giggles kind of appointment just to see what happens. Almost a bit too blasé, thinking that they were too good to stay in a relegation battle and they'll just kind of make their way through. But it was a mental appointment, short-lived. But this Aberdeen we've seen the last few weeks and what we saw at the weekend, that's more like the real Aberdeen that we should be seeing.
Anthony,
and I don't believe the team in Rodgers would have underestimated that at all.
You remember at the beginning of the season, I think it was the second or third game in, that we played Aberdeen up at Pittodrie. Was it 1-0, 2-1, 2-1 or something like that? I was impressed with Aberdeen that game. I thought they were going to have a good season. So and then surprised this season because that first time game against us, I thought they were a decent, they put up a fight. And lo and behold, they've not had a great season. But it just shows you, they have got players. I do think they've got some decent players, but I think they just need a decent manager and to get them all working as a team.
Which hopefully for their sake and not too much for our sake, but hopefully with this new guy with Elfsborg, younger manager from the Scandinavian mold, we know all about that with our Ronnie Dial experiment. They can come in with some great philosophies and great football ideas. So for the level that Aberdeen are at and aspire to be, then surely a guy like that can bring something to the club itself and help them up the table. But as long as we keep beating them in semi-finals and finals, other than that, I don't really care two fucks. The next kind of key moment in the game after it went 3-2 was the Adam Ida effort, who I've actually got paused on a still frame of how massively offside he is, and yet he was adamant at telling the ref that no, I'm not offside. He's you could fit three other players in between.
So we got offside there.
He's offside. After that, though, you go 3-2, you go 3 each. The next Aberdeen goal itself, just gonna have to replay it to myself here in the background as I go and try and stall for
replay the second goal. Replay the second goal. It's carbon copy.
So the big punt. It's a big punt by the keeper. I'm guessing this is a goal. Scales will be a nice clearance. It's a right entertaining.
Carbon copy, but it crosses it with his right foot, Hoylett. So I think it's the same guy. Really isn't it? No, I don't know if it's the same guy.
Again, it's Alistair Johnson.
It's pretty much a carbon copy.
That is carbon copy. That is. He takes it with his right. Alistair Johnson standing off him too much, lets himself get turned, and it's a ball over where Scales
gets caught on
just doesn't do anything.
He got the ball in early.
I suppose you could argue he gets it in early, Jed, and catches us off guard, I suppose. Doesn't like the defence.
It's actually quite astounding. But we go into penalties there, boys. No point dwelling on the same goal twice, as I say. We go into the penalties, though. Nothing too surprising happened in the penalty shootout, I don't think. Nothing weird and wonderful happened, apart from Joe Hart decided to take, was it the 4th penalty or 5th one?
The 5th to go to win it.
I'm actually more intrigued by Jed's opinion on this one, because being in the stand, that must have been absolutely baffling.
Honestly, it was a nightmare. Honestly, God, I was all over the place. I've been at Hampden. when Aberdeen beat us in, I think it was 1989 in penalties. Charlie Nicholas was playing for them, and I just had flashbacks of that. And but by the way, the penalties of the Celtic players, the outfielders, not the goalkeeper. Burnaby was only, would you say, was a bad one? All the other ones were absolutely fantastic. Where was Palmer's penalty? Why the hell could they not do that earlier in the season? And Awata's penalty was, they were all absolutely. Really even Alistair, that was a lot of pressure on Alistair Johnson. Every one of them got up actually pressure, and we got there in the end. To be honest, I did think when Joe Hart took the penalty, I thought, is it written? He's going to score. He's going to score. I'll be honest, I didn't think he was going to miss it. And then when he missed it, I thought, it's back to we're getting beat again. That's it. We've gave them, we blew our chance. So, and then it's a sudden death after that. It's no nice. And I thought Joe Hart as well showed his class after saving it. It was a poor penalty from the Aberdeen point of view, but he was trying to go over and commiserate with the Aberdeen keeper. He was saying the Celtic players were running at him, and you could see him. He was trying to go over because it's no nice. It's no nice to get beaten penalties. So it was. So he showed his class there, I thought.
Aye, it's definitely no. It's one of these ones. This is why I've kind of named this kind of hero or villain kind of thing, because if he misses that penalty and then we lose, he's surely a villain, Franny. And in a weekend where we had, was it Emi Martinez at Aston Villa, he's getting dug out for his antics with penalty shootouts as well. Goalkeepers maybe don't want the limelight shone upon them, but our Joe Hart is not the villain. He goes ahead and saves it. Was 2 penalties later, he makes a save, which sees us into the final, and he's the hero. But you have to remember, I don't think Jed would have seen this at the game. There's a sly smile and a wink after you miss his penalty. Back to our team at the centre circle.
Social media.
That's confidence, boys. That is confidence. To miss a penalty in that situation when you've put yourself forward. I mean, fair enough if you're the 10th or 11th penalty taker because it's your turn, but when you put yourself forward in the first 5, to then have that smile and that wink, that's confidence. He has to follow that up, and by God, he did. Franny, how did you see it all panning out? How were your nerves holding up at that stage?
I mean, Celtic. I suppose I say Celtic, but I suppose any football fan, when the team gets the penalties, you never fancy it. You could take the 5 of the best penalty takers in the world, but I dare say you would still be on edge. And obviously, our record this season, you're almost, well, certainly myself, I'd almost conceded the game at that point. It was almost like, we'll just give Aberdeen it. But like Jed touched on, all good penalties. Bernardo's was maybe not
the weakest one.
The best. It was probably the weakest one. Still a really good tactic. The keeper gets down well, but it's just obviously enough power on it. And then Joe Hart, you're sitting going, I think obviously they missed their 5th penalty or fourth penalty, whatever it was, comes off the post. And then you're just sitting going, right, who's next? And you see Joe Hart. And I know Brendan Rodgers came out after it and said it was pre-planned, which I'm totally fine with. But that is not the big issue for me. I suppose obviously they have been practicing penalties in training, but what does that say about the rest of the team, that your keeper's better than a lot of their players?
Exactly, Franny.
What does it? I mean,
know.
But Franny, he is a senior player, and I thought, no, I'll be taking it.
I know that's what I have no. See, when it comes to penalties, Jed, I have no issue when somebody steps up and puts their name forward and misses it. At the end of the day, you've put yourself forward to be in that position, so I will not criticise anybody for. I mean, I say I'll not criticise anybody for missing a penalty, if you like, but fair play to anybody that puts themselves forward for that.
But what
I don't know if
Anthony, I don't know if you're going to say this as well about before it, when the kit man goes over to speak to Bernardo. Have you seen it in social media that Brendan Rodgers loses the plot, goes over and hunts him as if to say, what are you doing? That's not your job. He was over trying to G up Bernardo before the penalties are taken. I can't see the comments, guys. So if anybody's seen it, please comment, and one of the guys will put it up for me. If you get the chance, You've never seen Rodgers like this, by the way. He lost it.
Whilst I have the second screen, I'll have a look.
He goes to him and he just basically tells him, piss off.
Because you just need to be in your own mind at that point, I guess, with players. You can't.
I think the boy overstepped his responsibilities. And I think that showed you who is the boss.
But I just go back to Joe Hart as well. It's like you say, it's sitting going. It is almost like name and lights moment if he does score the winning penalty, but ultimately it does miss it. It's hard to say it's a good penalty because obviously he's missed it, but he struck it well and he's put it right in the corner. Because I don't know if it's because there was a couple penalties before that where it looked like that Kelly Roos was injured, like he was cramping up. So I don't know if Joe Hart's just thought, if I drill this to the corner, he's getting nowhere near it. So I think he's just tried to put it to a corner. And similarly, like with Alistair Johnson and obviously Awata done, it was get it to the corner. He's not really probably got it in him to get a good spring and stuff. But the six penalties that we did score, all really, really, really good penalties, and still win the game of confidence next week if we get a penalty, but just with a record in real time. But for me,
I think it gives you some of the boys that took they weren't expected.
Awata penalty.
Johnston
His was brilliant, I thought.
By the way, Matt O'Reilly, that's the last two penalties he has taken. He has been fantastic.
His was just cool as you like. Again, he just kind of, it's almost like he gives the keeper the eyes and watches and just closes his foot at the last minute. Because I don't think it's right in the corner, but he just watches the keeper go and he just knocks it the other way and stuff.
And I thought Palmer's penalty would have been up beside me.
Palmer was brilliant.
But he proved me wrong.
His was really good as well. But for me, penalties are a toss at the coin, really, Anthony. But we showed our mettle, and Joe Hart came up with a good saved the penalty in the end. But like Jed touched on, it was a touchy clash for him. We muted celebrations, unlike some other teams would do after drawing games.
No need for the lack of honour in that situation.
Nah.
I think it definitely helps that if we talk about the hero villain, he's obviously really got a lot of pressure once he's missed that penalty. And I see what you're saying, Franny, with the effort to keep it low and in the corner. It hits off the post. He's definitely tried to be sensible about it. He's not tried to be cocky. He's not been blasé. So fair dues, he stepped up and he took responsibility. It does say a lot, Jed, that we've got to this point in the season that we've had so many stinkers with penalty takers that it probably has got to the point where Joe Hart has went, guys, I'll just fucking deal with it. And fair play to Joe Hart. I think it definitely helps him, though, that he actually saved the penalty that won us the penalty shootout. See if it was a skied shot and the player just missed it, you maybe still have a wee bit of apprehension about what Joe Hart was up to at the penalty shootouts, but he saved it and it's really good. I don't know if any of you have actually seen it. Joe Hart did an interview with Celtic TV after the game as well. And naturally, the questions about the penalties come up. And he's talking away. His smile is ear to ear. He's absolutely joyful, so he is, and he's talking away. But he actually has to stop himself halfway through a sentence, and he realises how it sounds. He's like, no, I'm being deadly serious. Like, me joking about, I'm being really, really serious here. We planned it. He kind of really had to force a point because he also realises in his own head how ludicrous the whole situation was that he was to take that penalty. So he's even himself and Rodgers have both come out and laid it down. It had been planned. It had been talked about beforehand. A lot of people
to look at all possibilities because there's a chance. If there's extra time in penalties, there's a chance you're going to go to penalties.
He's going to have to, exactly. Yeah. I mean, you've got to the point where had he not taken that one, it's probably only about 2 penalties away from he would have had to take one by the time you get through the sudden death aspect of it. But the game finishes, boys. We're through to the final. Don't want to dwell too much on yesterday's game because this is a Celtic podcast after all. But we will discuss the fact that symbolically, this is going to be Joe Hart's final game in his entire football career, assuming that he doesn't stay on for one more season with us. And it's going to be on that special date for Celtic fans on the 25th of May. Is it written in destiny? Is it our game, our day to win, especially against them? on that day of all days, and hopefully to do a double, put them back in their place? Is it a day that you think we're going to cherish as a club? Players are going to be G'd up, or do you think it's going to be added pressure that the players might buckle, considering how we have played? I wouldn't say we buckle too much, but we are stop-start this season. So do you think the guys have it in them to see out the rest of the season, get to that final, and actually perform on the day of all days?
I think they will. I think if any team, without sounding too cocky, any team out the two, when it's come to pressure, I think they've shown who's stepped up and what teams struggled. I mean, Rangers the last couple of league games, with a bit of pressure on them, knowing they had to win them, have failed to win league games. I think they've got 5 points for 15, but the media will not really write that narrative. Celtic are probably still the team struggling here through and stuff like that. So, it'll be a tricky game, Anthony. Hopefully it is going for a double. Hopefully the league campaign's been won and we're going in there as league champions. If you are, that obviously gives you that wee added bonus. Equally, the Rangers might look at it and go, well, we've got a chance to really, I wouldn't say have any long-term bragging rights over the summer, but certainly going, well, we can get a cup double here and we can really sort of maybe lay a marker down, if you like, for next season, be winning it. So it'll be a big game. It will be, I dare say, it probably will be nervy and stuff. We probably won't run away with it. It'll probably be a few goals. Both teams will probably score and stuff, but it's one I'm looking forward to, but one I'm also sitting going, this has got to be a long 4 weeks as well. And like you say, the date it's massive in Celtic's history, that date. So let's just hope it's written in the stars that on the 25th of May we win the Scottish Cup. But we're record holders of that. Hampden in the Sun. It's a line in one of our songs. I think all Celtic fans, obviously the league's your bread and butter, but Celtic being at Hampden at the Scottish Cup final, there's something special about that.
Yeah, talk about the song itself. You wouldn't mind a 7-1 victory again, would you, Jed?
No.
All right for you?
I mean, before somebody says, no, I wasn't at that game. Look, if you look at it, we've got 5 games, so the cup final look after itself. What I was really impressed was Rodgers has come out after it. Now we're on to the league. That's his focus now on the league. And I said on the chat when I got home on Saturday night that hopefully that's going to be the kick up the backside we were needing, because we need to go into these games now. If that was a league game, it was 2-2 after 90 minutes. We can't have that going on. We need to win the games. So I just hope that we'll learn from what happened on Saturday and we'll move on. And I'm confident we're going to do it. And as Franny touched on as well, the 25th of May is synonymous in our club's history. And I do believe it will be written in the stars that we'll do it.
That I've got full faith. I keep looking back at the games that we've played this season. And I think James has mentioned it in the group chat about a week or so ago about how we only went about 6 games really in a row of winning or something. We don't have a great kind of running form this season of kind of getting 8, 9, 10, 11, even 12 wins in a row, which is usually quite common for us in most seasons to do that a couple of times. And I'm kind of looking at this running, you say 5 games in the league left to go, and then look at the cup final on its own when it happens. I'm kind of looking at this and thinking, right, we've had a draw against Rangers. We've had, theoretically, a draw against Aberdeen at the weekend and win on penalties. Can we dust ourselves down and say that's the negative results kind of out the way, as much as it's a positive to get to the cup final, you know what I mean, over 90 minutes. And now look at these 5 games in isolation. Just get over this line. Obviously, the game against them on the 11th of May is the big one. Win that, 6 points clear, assuming nothing else changes in the 2 games beforehand. And it's all but done. we only need one more point after that, really. I think this side is good enough, but what I want to see from the side more than anything else is it's probably more experience and level head. So we've talked about this already on tonight and more so in other episodes. Guys like James Forrest coming in, I think, is a real big must. If he only plays 60 minutes a game, I'd rather see James Forrest for the first 60 minutes and all the experience that he brings, and then bring Kuhn or Yang on as that kind of impact, that little bit of legs and a bit of pace about Yang to try and run at defenders again and kind of tire them out a wee bit more. Mm-hmm. I think we need that experience just to settle us a little bit, because it's so choppy and changey. As much as we're getting all the big hitters back, there's so much changing that is happening all the time. Yeah, I think we're good for it. I think come 25th of May, I think we'll be fine. It's got all the potential, guys, isn't it? To run through the next 5, then the 6 games, and actually end this season on a nice run. 6 wins out of 6 sort of thing, and just tie it all off. That'd be nice.
But anyway, Anthony, who would rather be in this position? Would Rangers rather be 3 points in front? Of course they would.
Of course would.
So
it's all changed in the last week. That has all changed in the last 2 weeks.
It's in our own hands.
100%.
It's in our own hands. We go and put a good performance against Dundee on Sunday. Again, that's another game away. That's another 3 points. The Hearts game will look after itself. And I said, I think it was on Friday night, we are due to give Hearts a doing. And if they're going to play like they did against Rangers yesterday, what I've seen of it, we'll be fine. We'll be fine. And as even Graham Souness said today, even I was saying TalkSport, even if Rangers were the dominant team going to Celtic Park, will not be an easy for them at all to go and try and win that game. He says they'll need to win that game, and it will not be easy for them.
I'm not going to want to get carried away. It's like you said, it's chalking each game off. Ideally, you get great performances every game, and it's essentially easy streaking. But if you get the points to get you over the line, hopefully you do win it on merit. I feel like you don't maybe drop a couple of games here and there, and Rangers inevitably drop points, and you wouldn't say stumble over the line, but you just get the job done. But hopefully we do knock out 5 wins in the league. It gives you confidence, goes into the cup final, because then everybody will be buzzing on a high and stuff, and cup final will end the season against your rivals. But like Jed said, it's one game at a time now. That old cliche, get Dundee out the way, and certainly at the home games, I think the fans will play a massive part. It felt, obviously Jed will be able to answer it better than myself, but it felt on the telly anyway, even when we went down to 1-0 at the weekend there, fans stuck with the team, and I think the fans will be key in these home, obviously in the away games as well, but I think obviously the team will notice them more in the away games, where there might be sticky moments in the home games, and it'll be, I suppose in some fans it'll be hard to not get anxious and maybe have some moans and groans. It's just what you do as a football fan. You're that emotionally involved. But where possible, I believe the fans will, but I just hope the fans stick with the team. I think they will. I do think they will.
Franny, I can't remember, I put it in their chat, and I made a comment on here that a few weeks before we played St Mirren, I says the fans have got a big part to play. And it was 0-0 after the first half against St Mirren at home. But the fans definitely played their part. They stuck by the team. And you could see that helped, and I felt at the weekend it was as well. The fans realise we ain't going to have possession for 90 minutes. Teams are going to come at us, but we need to stick by them. And that's... I think everybody knows now we're all together in this one. We need to be all together, and we need to back the team for 95. It's not even 90 minutes now, it's 95 minutes.
Whatever it is.
Whatever it is, we have to back them.
No, I agree.
That's it as well. If anybody hadn't noticed, technically speaking, that was 3 hours of football we witnessed on Saturday, by the way. 12:30 to 3:30 was the final.
Tell me about it. My heart can't
mental. But you're saying there, you're saying there about playing as a team, if we can defend well and all this, and I'm going to use that as a very weak segue into our last topic for tonight, guys. Alistair Johnson. Now, I don't want to sit and pick on just the goals that he's kind of getting some blame for at the weekend there. I want to take him as a whole. He's been here, a season and a half now, is it? Halfway through the last season, did he come in? Season before? No, last season. So he's been here a year and a half. He's more than bedded in. I mean, he hit the ground running when he played his first game against Rangers. He wears his heart on his sleeve sort of thing, and he's definitely, I think, a really good player on his day. But do we feel that perhaps, although we all look at goalkeeper, especially coming this summer now with Joe Hart leaving, we all look at left back because we only really have Greg Taylor now. We're all looking at right wing, we're looking at strikers. These are positions that we're always saying we need to prioritise them, and we need to. Is right back position becoming slightly more of a concern for anybody else, or is it just me just now thinking Ralston seems to be out of the picture? Alistair Johnson overall is showing some frailties, that he's maybe not the polished article. Is anybody else starting to feel that maybe we should dip our toes in that market as well? Or is it just maybe something just to keep that on the back burner? Alistair Johnson's just going to have to come good again.
Well, I would argue that Johnson's got to come good again, and maybe we need to get somebody to supplement him, if you like. As silly as it sounds, considering I think Rodgers initially gave Ralston his deal and stuff. Obviously, he got another one just before Postecoglou came in, but doesn't feel like Rodgers kind of fancies him to come in from time to time. A lot of that could be down to the sort of indifferent form we've had this season. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend that Alistair Johnson's been brilliant every game this season. I don't think he's had his best season. He has been coming on to a game of late, but he had a couple of awkward moments, much like the majority of defence at the weekend. Maybe it is a bit of fatigue. Just, I think he's played a lot of football over the last 18 months, probably 2 years, especially with the World Cup and stuff. And obviously this season especially, he's not really missed a lot of games, if you like. As we've seen under Postecoglou, he was happy enough to use Ralston, but Ralston's not really get used a lot. And it maybe, I think it was even Jed said many weeks ago talking about O'Reilly. It's maybe just some guys needing a rest. Alistair Johnson being one of them possibly, but unfortunately we just need him for another 6 games. I think unless you can get a good wee lead and then you can bring Ralston on to sort of rest him that way. But I'm going to cut some slack and say it's maybe just needing a rest. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend and say he's been absolutely brilliant.
So, Jed, am I being a bit too harsh by picking him out in a full topic of discussion? Or is it, as Frank says, it's 18 months, it's a bit of fatigue, it's Rodgers, it's a different system, he's adapting all the time, and maybe it is just a bit too long of an 18 months, and maybe he's well due a little bit of respite from the fans as well as himself.
Well, I think you're being a little bit harsh on him. If you look, the last season, he was fantastic. We weren't talking about Juranovic because Johnson came in and he was phenomenal. But guys, yes, he hasn't had the best of seasons, but we can say that about Callum McGregor as well. Mm-hmm. I have criticised him quite a bit this season. He's not been the greatest. But yes, I do think we need a backup for him, because I don't think Ralston is that guy. So maybe you're getting another player in along the same ilk as him, and they can push each other on. But I think he's got that ice hockey hardness in him, and we need that. I think he's a decent player. Yes, he has had a few errors this season. No one can deny that. But there's definitely a player there. And you can see he likes it here. He enjoys it here. And he seems, you see him shouting at the players as well. I've noticed that. I just try and watch him, and and he is communicating with the players as well. So, yeah, by all means, we need to get another right back, but I don't think it'll be a right back to replace Alistair Johnson. I think it's more, we need a left-sided centre half, and we need a left back. That would be my concerns. My priorities moving into the summer's transfer window.
I think you've got a very good point. Now I was just trying to think it through as well, thinking
what's the people saying? What are they saying? I can't see the comments. Are they slating Johnson, or are they?
No, really. No. Overall, it's a general. Ralston's maybe not good enough. Same idea, maybe get Ralston replaced, but Johnson's good enough for the league as it is. Kind of vague tones. I was going to bring up, maybe it's, you always have this thing when you, especially when you're playing with overlapping fullbacks and wingers. Is it the inconsistency of the right wing position? Is that maybe given Alistair Johnson too much work? And then I'm thinking, actually, the reason why I'm bringing this topic up is because there's quite a few times lately that defensively Alistair Johnson is standing off a little bit too much and letting the right winger, such as Yang in the Rangers game, letting the winger do the defensive duty while Alistair Johnson drifts back and he just gets caught in no man's land. So actually he's not doing the defensive duty fully, but then is that back to the whole long 18 months? He had last summer off, but that's on the back of a full season of MLS, a World Cup, and then half a season with us.
And he had Jota playing last season as well.
But maybe you make a good point. About the centre backs there, Jed. If we had a proper left centre back that allows Carter Vickers then to focus on the right side and form that partnership, so that, because it almost seems like Carter Vickers shifts over to the left to cover for Scales at times and Taylor at times, that ends up leaving Alistair Johnson way too much on his own, and he's pulling into the central to try and close that space, hoping that Yang comes back, and then it's all just a wee bit of a makeshift.
But Anthony, go back to the last derby game. The first three players at Celtic got booked was all down the right-hand side. It was Yang, Kuhn, Johnson, Carter Vickers, because they knew they couldn't get down the left because Tavernier couldn't leave Maeda, so they tried to get down the right-hand side, and they were getting the bookings. I know that. I think
you actually said that, Anthony, after that game on the podcast.
I said that exact thing after that podcast, and that brings me back to what I said earlier on. Is it that we're starting to see, especially with Alistair Johnson now, that he's a wee bit standoffish, especially when that ball for the third goal, the second goal was, the player gets into the box and Alistair Johnson steps back almost. Is it just this now fear that he knows fine well that he's going to get punished in some capacity? If he gets too close, he gets booked. If he's in the box, he's going to give away a penalty. Is it a psychological thing that we just need a mental rest and reset as well as a physical one and regroup at the end of the season?
Yeah, probably. I think so. I think it's been a long few years. Like we say, under Postecoglou, it was fast football. Obviously, Rodgers is the same, but maybe not as, it's more possession based as intensity stuff. So, maybe it's just a lot of the players just needing. Maybe Anthony, it's just players just needing. I know nowadays they don't really get much time off, if you like, to really. They're on like strict sort of plans and stuff to come back with it, but maybe they're just needing like that 10 days, 2 weeks away from it all, just to sit down and take it all in and just go, by the way, what a few seasons of football we've actually just gave these fans what we've gave ourselves and what we can tell our kids, tell our grandkids all about. We've played some football for the last 3 years.
Definitely, possibly so. I mean, we all look at the winter break and we look at the international breaks and we think, oh, that's 10 days, 2 weeks for the players to rest. And it does give them a little bit of rest, but it's not the same as your 2 weeks on a holiday where you can actually just go away
and get pushed
and totally blank it all and come back after a full 2 or 3 weeks and then get back into training. Whereas with the international breaks and the winter break, it's maybe 2 or 3 days you get of that, and then you're back doing the kind of training to keep your match sharp. So maybe they do.
And let's be honest, Anthony, as well, they're not going to be like us three when we go on holiday. As soon as I'm at the airport, I'm just down.
Aye, get the bar.
Are professionals. A lot of them don't even.
Tell you,
You know,
I'll tell you
and
what I'm doing this
when
summer.
they'll be training. They look after themselves.
I'll tell you what I have to do this summer just as we round this one up, right? To get a flights, return and all the rest of it for the family to Hungary. To do it from Scotland is going to cost me the better part of 1,200 quid. I'm actually getting it for about 450 if I fly from Birmingham. Birmingham. So I'm driving down at like 3:30 in the morning down to Birmingham, and it's going to be 9 o'clock into that bar at the airport and straight onto it as you do as a true Scotsman going on his holiday at 9 a.m. at an airport, straight on that lager.
Anthony, look, we've all done it. I've flown for England quite a few times when I was going with my wife and the 3 daughters. But I tell you, when I fly now, I pay the money for the lounge because I certainly get my money's worth. I get my money's worth. And on the flight as well, I had it for the first 3 days. I do it all the time when I go on my holidays, and then I had a brick wall for a day or two, and then I'm back on
it. It's all about.
And on that note, guys, it's been a good episode. We've hit the hour and 6 minute mark, so I'm always happy once we hit that kind of stage. Anything shorter than an hour, and I feel like I shortchanged the fans. Yes, use our fans apparently now. Guys, have you enjoyed tonight's show?
Yeah,
it's been good. Yeah. Enjoyed it. Yep.
Let's hope every Monday for the next 4 or 5 weeks we'll all be cheery as this.
Hopefully no downers. Now we should be back on Wednesday, I guess. No, not us personally, but some of the guys should be back on Wednesday, assuming nobody's painting their toenails again this week. There'll be the double pivot on Wednesday. We'll have the match preview on Friday with the guys as well, going into the weekend's game. Until then, though, we're going to do the awkward smile and wave and awkward silence as we try to end the show without, yet again, an outro video that we will sort at some point. But until Wednesday, guys, thank you very much for being here. Like, subscribe, share it on Twitter and all the rest of it. Thank you very much. Hail, hail.